with the invocation and pledge led by Mr. Weaver.
Thank you. As we gather, we are ever mindful of the enduring values of community, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to work together and strive to make a better world for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Bowers,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
McGregor,
Here.
Padova,
Here.
Renner,
Here.
Schnetzer is absent, Weaver.
Here.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is additions or corrections to the agenda. Are there any tonight? All right, hearing none. We'll move on to hearing of visitors. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We're all very excited to celebrate Black History Month. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Jamil Jones to introduce our first presentation of a resolution tonight.
Absolutely, thank you. I am super excited to have some special guests here with us this evening to present our resolution for Black History Month. So before coming down to the floor for our photo op moment, I wanted to read some of the key elements of the resolution so you understand why we selected our special guest to be here with us today. So you do know that it's Black History Month, and a couple of the clauses within the resolution read as such. Whereas Dr. Danya Thomas, educator, activist, Black Studies curriculum developer, and the first Black English teacher at Gahanna Lincoln High School, honors Black history and the impact of Black literature and cultural perspectives throughout America and beyond through African American voice, a core credit English class offered at Gahanna Lincoln High School, and is one of the only Black literature courses offered for such credit in the state of Ohio. And whereas the theme, as established by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History for Black History Month 2024, is African Americans and the Arts, acknowledging that in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and so many other forms of cultural expression, the African American influence has been prominent. And whereas for 10 years, Gahanna Lincoln students, under the leadership of Dr. Thomas and Janelle Amerson, with support from Tia Holloman, Kia Germany, Rachel Manley, and Keisha Whitfield, create, produce, and perform in Diaspora, Voices of an Ever-Changing America, an annual Black cultural program that debunks myths and challenges thinking. And finally, whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by Black and African American thinkers, scientists, educators, faith leaders, artists, business, and political leaders. So with that, I'd like to call up Dr. Danya Thomas, Janelle Amerson, Keisha Whitfield, and some of the Gahanna Lincoln High School students to receive our resolution and have a photo with council, and then we'll hear remarks from them as well. Thank you all.
Yeah, would you get the last one there too? The boxes are gifts for our recipients tonight, so students, please help yourself to each one of the boxes that is on the table there before you leave tonight.
Good evening. Is this on? Do I just talk? Oh, there we go. Good evening, everyone. It is such an honor to be here to take part in this historic moment for the Gahanna Jefferson School District as we acknowledge the importance of Black History Month and the tremendous contributions of Black people and Black culture to the foundation of America as well as the city. For over a decade, I've been engaged in creating classroom curriculums that center the use of critical conscious literacies rooted in the Black experience in order to advance Black studies in K-12 schooling. It was during the 2009-2010 school year that African American Voice was born, and this was due to the lack of Black representation I observed as an English educator in the GLHS English curriculum, as well as the lack of Black cultural knowledge that youth from all cultural backgrounds were demonstrating through formal and informal assessment. It was quite shocking to see how a foundational community of this nation and world, which are Black people across the African diaspora, had basically been silenced in many ways in American school curriculums. And my question was, and still is, how can one study history, literature, science, race, language, economics, the arts in America, in American classrooms specifically, without including an intentional focus on peoples whose efforts not only create civilizations but also sustain them, whose efforts not only contribute to not only or undeniably helping form this country and the greater world. In AA Voice, students journey through aspects of the Black experience based on a course design that purposely includes literature, plays, musical texts, art, lectures, documentaries, and other media resources. Students are exposed to a plethora of resources that ask them to consider the role of Black culture in American society. I'm also excited to say that I've created a new course called Afro-Heritage Literature that will be available for students to take during the 24-25 school year. Where AA Voice will now be an 11th grade course offering, Afro-Heritage Literature, a 12th grade course offering, is dedicated to centering the international Black global experience through literary studies. In addition to my role as a classroom teacher for the past 10 years, I have been blessed and thankful to be one of the 3 creative directors you've seen here tonight of Black Cultural Program Diaspora, which was actually inspired by the efforts of students in my AA Voice class. And this annual event has now grown to audience sizes averaging at 650 people. As members of a new generation, I believe it is imperative for students to have learning spaces of introspection that generate more critical and expansive understandings about cultural consciousness, social justice, equity-focused learning, teaching, and service. Because we live in a society in which social institutions are driven by powerful political forces, it is important for young people to raise questions about race, class, culture, community structure, systems of oppression, and the complications of social change. Their abilities to seek truth for themselves and validate the sources from which they gain their insights go hand in hand with the forms of knowledge attainment they will receive in their lifetimes. So within the type of learning environments that I try to provide, my students are empowered to make meaning for themselves as they come to develop a complexly rich understanding of the world. My courses are redesigned yearly in order to keep the content and focus fresh and progressive toward the intention of social relevance, historical application, student entrance, and student learning goals. Therefore, I never teach the course the same way to new incoming classes of students, and this assists me in developing personalized, formative, and summative assessments that identify individual student strengths while monitoring their success. Everyone in my classroom is brought to the role of learner, and at the same time learns how to model multiple ways to embrace analytical attitudes. I tell my students all the time that my role is not to tell them what to think, but to give them tools so they can think for themselves. Due to the promise I see in my students, I take my work with them very seriously. My students are what fuel my motivation to do this important work. I love my students. I literally say it out loud to them each and every day I am in their presence. I believe they are the change needed in this world. I know that if they dare to believe in the greatness that lies within them, there is nothing that can come against them. Black history reinforces this truth. This is why it should be poured into the youth. And this is why I do what I do. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and be here today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dallas Printup, and I just wanted to talk about my teacher, Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas is a fantastic teacher. She not only cares about her students, she creates distinctive relationships with each and every one of us. I never leave a conversation with Dr. Thomas without feeling inspired and educated. And after we talk, she goes on to bring up other conversations that we had. I feel like she always remembers what we talk about. She really tries to make every student feel loved and cared about. An example of this is every day, me and my friend Sophia, we go and talk to her before we have math class because math is a little hard, and she just gives us some positive light. I also admire Dr. Thomas because I've never had a black teacher, nonetheless a female black teacher, especially at Gahanna. It's really nice to show some good representation. I'm only in her English 11 class this year, but I am taking Afro Heritage next year. She created Afro Heritage not only to help to educate students, but because AA Voice got moved down this year to a junior level course, and there's been a lot of people that want to take this class senior year, and she created this whole other course for us. That's amazing. And every single day in Dr. Thomas's class, we meditate, and it really helps to center us. I really love her classroom, and I love that it's just like a break, you know? It's like I feel motivated, you know, to do my schoolwork. And I really like the curriculum. Like, it's fun. We just get to, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just that class. She's the teacher you tell your kids about, you know? Just a great teacher. Thank you.
Hi, City Council. I'm Max Piclantonio, and I'm a senior at GLHS. And I'm just going to talk about my experience in Dr. Thomas's class. My time in AA Voice has given me the opportunity to learn about Black history and experiences, analyze literature and media by Black authors, artists, and speakers, and write extensively on the things we are exploring in the class. And I can say without a doubt that as a senior, I have never in any other class even lightly touched on the kinds of things that I've learned in AA Voice, other than the only other Black-centered class at GLHS, AA History. One of my favorite experiences from this class was going to an art exhibit downtown called This is a Black Neighborhood. The exhibit featured various sounds from the artist's neighborhood captured on recordings and played through speakers, where we got to walk around, listen, and for some, dance to. I haven't even taken a field trip since middle school, and this one allowed our whole class to learn about something in a way that I couldn't from any normal class, and that made the subject easier to digest and fun. This is just one of the many independent ways of teaching we get to experience because of Dr. Thomas's unmatched and crazy dedication to making sure her students are getting the most out of their education. I'm extremely grateful to have been able to take African American Voice and couldn't have attained the knowledge and understanding of complex ideas and histories I now have without the class, and especially without Dr. Thomas. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Santino Williams, and when I get older, I think there's a few people that I will say that really impacted me and will make me the man I will be in the future. That will probably be my parents and Dr. Thomas. I truly believe that Dr. Thomas has really inspired me and empowered me to really grow as a Black man in Gahanna. Before her class, I've never been touched as much as she has to make me want to be a mechanical engineer and strive as much as I can in every single field that I do, as much as I do now. She has taught me that even though we have just Black History Month, that all of our history and culture cannot just be taught in just 1 month, that it takes the entire year to tell what we can really do. And I love that she has really put that inside of my heart because it strengthens me to want to do whatever, to strengthens me to know I can do whatever I put my mind to. She has made me grow with a different type of pride, and it's just been half a year of knowing her. I wish I was a grade back so I could have taken it this year. then had her again next year, because that would have been amazing. Recently, I just did diaspora, where I singed and danced and also read a speech on being motivational and being the next generation to prove something for our culture. And she really touched me in that. And we had a lot of different moments while we were eating lunch and right before we would perform, and being nervous and just laughing it off and just having fun, because that's all we can really do. And I'm really glad she taught me that you can do whatever you like and have fun at the same time. And I have a lot of pride in having fun and doing what I do. She has taught me that power is knowledge, and I've taken that in so much. And being in her class, I've never dived into Black history as much ever. And doing this has made me hungry for more. And I love that feeling of being hungry for more of it. I love surrounding myself with more people that looks like me, as I did in diaspora. She has taught me a different type of love, and I love it so much. I've never had a teacher that has cared for me as much as Dr. Thomas has. Through meditating and teaching us different stuff about our history, she has really made herself our best friends. And I don't think any other teacher has made such a connection to me my entire life, and I love her so, so much. It's refreshing to hear stories about what my culture has done and what we continue to do every single day, and I love that I've had her as a teacher. She put so much work into what she does. We were doing auditions and practices and time frames since November to do a play this Saturday, and it was amazing. I hope you came to see it, but it was actually amazing. It told stories from every single perspective. I had my parents' friend came, and it talked about being a Black nerd in an all-white classroom, and that really struck her and made her cry. It really struck her. But I just love that Dr. Thomas can hit every single pinpoint of someone's life and really know that they haven't really had a space to tell how they really felt in that time. So I think Dr. Thomas is the best teacher I've ever had, because not only what she teaches, but how she connects to her students.
Hi, my name is Olivia Lewis. I just want to start by saying that mine is a little different from everyone else's, but I also have two parents who are both educators. So for me to be here and to talk about Dr. Thomas, I just want you guys to know she's very special to me. And I guess I'll start. Good morning, sunshine. That was the first thing Dr. Thomas said to me as I entered the classroom on the first day of school. That day, I had already heard of Dr. Thomas through many sources such as friends, social media, and diaspora, which I will mention much later. But today, I wish I could go back to the first day of senior year and warn myself how much of an impact she has left with me and continues to leave with me on a daily basis. Dr. Thomas has an aura that no one can touch. She is bright, sensitive, intelligent, strong, and a compassionate woman, who happens to be so many wonderful things. She is an outstanding educator who informs her students of Black historical events and literature, who most of us haven't heard about in our 12 years of attending a public, so-called diverse school system. She provides us with knowledge from a curriculum she makes from scratch and indulges us in a sad, beautiful, and tragic events we as a new generation need to know moving forward. More than just an educator, Dr. Thomas is also a writer, speaker, and creator of a show called Diaspora. Some of you may have heard of this, but if you haven't, I feel extremely sorry for you. The first time I heard of Dr. Thomas, I attended my first Diaspora show. After I had finished laughing, crying, and feeling all emotions known to mankind, Dr. Thomas walked out and spoke with so much passion it sparked something inside of me. I knew at that very moment I wanted to know her and have her in my life. Turns out that was the best thing I could have done. This year, I was a part of Diaspora, Voices of an Ever-Changing America, and got to witness Dr. Thomas put together a show that provided insight to many cultures and beautiful backgrounds expressing love, gratitude, and misconceptions of the Black community, and all the amazing things that come with being a person of color. She works herself tired to put on a show that leaves a mark on so many people, even children of a young age. She influences her students and pulls out the best of them, including me. I have personally struggled through so many battles, including painful medical conditions, witnessing the passing of my loved ones, and silent battles she sees right through. I have never felt more understood by a teacher and adult in my life than Dr. Thomas. She reminds me on a daily basis that I have a light inside of me. Every time she reminds me of my light, I think back to the first thing she said to me that morning. "Good morning, sunshine." She saw it before she even knew me, and it touched a part of my heart I didn't know could be reached. The way I see it is a crack with a light peeking through, like one of those corny movies. I'm not perfect, and as much as people remind me of that, Dr. Thomas reminds me it's perfectly okay to be imperfect. She believes in me when I don't, smiles with me when I definitely don't feel like it, and listens. No one understands how much listening truly helps a person, but she does. She heals my cracks, and I will forever be grateful I have grown to be so inspired by her in such a short amount of time. One day, I hope to be a fraction of the many beautiful things and beautiful sides of her. I could talk highly of her for decades, and as time goes on, I could add a new thing every second. But I will end this by saying, if you have ever crossed paths with Dr. Thomas, you don't understand how truly blessed you are. Whether it's a simple hey or a conversation, knowing her is always genuine. You have encountered a goddess who holds such high power. She is a blessing on this earth, and I cannot think of a person more deserving of this award. Thank you.
Thank you to the students, to Dr. Thomas, to Keisha Whitfield, to Jonelle Amerson. We truly have a wonderful way to celebrate and honor Black History Month here in Gahanna, so thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to take a gift off the table as well.
Okay. Thank you all so much. I will just take a moment just to reflect on how you exemplify the excellence and the best of our schools. And it is just an honor to bear witness to that right now. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you to many members of the school board and Superintendent Dr. Deagle for being here as well to bear witness to that incredibly powerful display of gratitude and inspiration. So thank you. Okay, our next presentation tonight is also incredibly important, and I want to make sure that our celebration of a small business and the hard work and dedication that goes into a small business is also uplifted tonight. I'm going to turn over our presentation to Councilmember Stephen Renner, who's going to recognize the Armstrong family for their efforts and contributions in providing Mr. T's Pizza. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the Armstrong family join me?
It never goes as planned, you know that.
All right.
I was like, I was doing okay.
Is this on? All right. As Councilwoman Bowers actually talked about, this is incredibly important. And as everybody knows, that Mr. T's Pizza has shut their doors again on Saturday, February 3rd. And so we Council wanted to actually take a moment to recognize, and we have a resolution recognizing Mr. T's Pizza's legacy on Gahanna's food economy. It's really important. I'm going to read this resolution because there's a lot of pertinent history in here. Whereas pizza is one of America's comfort foods, and pizza shops may become community hubs, fostering a sense of local identity and community. Whereas Gahanna has consistently celebrated and supported its small businesses and entrepreneurs who drive them. And whereas Mr. T's Pizza was originally the creation of Tom Snyder near Gahanna at Agler and Stelzer Road in 1970s. And whereas both Jeffrey Armstrong and his father, Jim Armstrong, worked in the kitchen and delivered Mr. T's Pizza pies and other menu items to Gahanna area and Mifflin Township residents. And whereas Jim Armstrong, and at his son's multiple requests and urging, bought Mr. T's Pizza in 1981. And whereas Jim and Jeffrey Armstrong expanded Mr. T's Pizza by opening another store at Parkville Street at Route 161 around 1987, yet both locations were closed around 2002. Whereas Jeffrey Armstrong and his family reopened Mr. T's Pizza on October 21st, 2018, once again, bringing families and residents together from both Gahanna and Mifflin Townships. And whereas Mr. T's Pizza fostered a vibrant food economy with its dedication to quality, service, and community engagement, whereas Mr. T's Pizza was a strong community partner, advocating and supporting local school fundraisers and charitable initiatives such as toys for underprivileged children in Gahanna and Mifflin Township. And whereas Mr. T's Pizza will be greatly missed among the social fabric of our small city, and we all look forward to the day when Mr. T's Pizza reopens its doors and add once again to our vibrant food economy. And whereas Council expresses its gratitude to the Armstrong family for the years of hard work and wishes them well in all their future endeavors. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Gahanna, County of Franklin, State of Ohio, that this council hereby recognizes February 5th, 2024 as Mr. T's Pizza Day for the City of Gahanna, and that this resolution shall be in full force and effect at its earliest period allowed by law. Thank you. You have anything you want to add? Where's your question?
Wow. You know, none of this was possible without Mom and Dad. Mom worked for the city of Gahanna for 30-some years and retired from here. Dad brought me up to know how to treat people, to give back, and that's what Mr. T's was for. Through the years, and it took me a few after we closed down in '02 to get my head together and do what I knew Dad wanted me to do. I want to thank Mom and Dad. I want to thank my family, my wives. Oh, sorry. Okay. And my kids for everything. They have been through a lot. I want to thank the city, the community. You know, they have done everything for Mr. T's. We have done very little to give back. We will still be here. We will still give back as a family. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you again to the Armstrong family, and good luck, very best wishes in the next chapter that you have ahead of you, and thank you for all of your work and contributions to Gahanna. The next item on our agenda is hearing of visitors, members of the public. I was presented with one speaker slip earlier this evening, and I do not believe that that speaker is remained and she has departed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So moving on to our next section on the agenda. Tonight we have a presentation from Power a Clean Future Ohio on clean energy aggregation from Mr. Florida. If you'd like to come forward, we can go ahead and get you set up for your presentation. Thank you for bearing with us. You are welcome to either be at the podium or at the desk, wherever you're more comfortable.
Great, thank you. Are we good?
Do you want to do an introduction, Mr.
Yeah.
Renner? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Renner has an introduction for
Sorry.
tonight. No, it's fine.
I invited Joe here. My colleagues and I, we've been struggling for a little bit of time now looking at power aggregation. We had NOPEC, we had SOPEC, both come, and so we want to, we're trying to still figure that out. And when I met through some new connections through my master's program, and a Gahanna resident introduced me to Joe, and I immediately, after hearing him, I decided that my colleagues and city administration really needs to hear what he has to say. And he's an independent party to actually help us try to figure all this out. So, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you for the invitation to be here tonight, Councilmember Renner, and I'll just say I get the chance in my role to speak at a lot of different city councils across the state. That was one of the more inspiring starts to a city council meeting that I've been able to witness, so thank you for that treat tonight. My name is Joe Flaherty. I'm the Executive Director of Power Clean Future Ohio, and have the chance to talk to you a little bit about my organization, what we do as a nonprofit here in the state, working with local governments, and talk to you a little about clean energy, sustainability, climate change, and how your city can set some goals, pursue them, and achieve them in partnership with us, but also in partnership with all kinds of local governments doing this work across the state. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, what it means to join PCFO as a member community. And then I'll, of course, as Councilmember Renner said, speak a little bit about community choice aggregation as a tool for local governments to achieve some of those goals, what that means, what that looks like, how best to set yourself up for success if you choose to pursue that route. If you all have any questions, feel free to interrupt me throughout, or of course, happy to answer questions at the end as well. See if we can get this to work here. Click on that screen. Oh, there we go, maybe. Go back one, that'd be great. All right, so a little bit about my organization, Power Clean Future Ohio. We launched in February of 2020, so you think back to what that was like a month before our global pandemic hit, quite a time to launch a brand new initiative and organization here in the state. But we are solely focused on working directly with local governments, specifically to help reduce emissions in our state and help grow the clean energy economy in Ohio. There's a lot of ways to go about this work. In Ohio, we think the path forward to reduce emissions is through local government. We think you all hold the keys to this work in the state. And so the question became, in launching this organization, what do you need to get the job done? What sort of support can we provide to you? And so we went out to philanthropic partners and made that case, that you all could use some support around capacity, technical expertise, certainly identifying the right funding opportunities, helping set policy priorities and making sure you know what's feasible and reasonable to accomplish, but also who are the right partners and who else is doing this work? Who can you look to as experts and best practices to make sure you're not taking too big of a risk with taxpayer dollars, but looking to demonstrate its successes elsewhere. It's completely free for local governments to participate. I mentioned going to philanthropic partners to make sure we can do that. We know that if there's a new barrier in place, certainly if you have to go to your budget to create a membership fee or something like that, that's probably enough of a barrier that it might not rise up on the agenda. So we made sure to make it free for local governments to participate. But the one step you do need to take to join PCFO is to pass a resolution in City Council. So you pass a resolution, you become a PCFO member community, and you get access to our set of technical experts and our support network to help you get some of this work done. So Power Clean Future Ohio, as I mentioned, we have a variety of goals that we try to accomplish in this work. Number one, we also know local governments, in addition to not having a lot of money laying around, we also got to be mindful of how we can reduce costs. What are ways that we can embrace new clean energy technology that can bring down the budget for the local government, but also how can we help those most vulnerable in your community to save on their electric bills, to save on their transportation burden as well. Let's grow the clean energy economy in Ohio. We know this is an emerging opportunity. This is a source of jobs. So how do we invest in it locally to make this work happen? And of course, thinking about the environmental justice impacts of this work. How do we reduce emissions in the very near term and in the long term, of course, but how do we do this work in the very near term to make sure we're thinking about those most vulnerable in our communities and our neighborhoods? Most importantly, we want to make sure this work is achievable, measurable, equitable, and economical. We think we can check all those boxes in our work with you all. So again, the basic step here would be pass a resolution. We can work with you on what that looks like. Designate a lead. That could be a city staff member that's going to work directly with us in identifying grant opportunities to pursue, working through policy questions, identifying potential partners in other areas. It could be a city council member. It could be the mayor. It could be whoever wants to step forward and do that work. We most often work with city staff, but of course we can work with anyone who makes sense depending on the community. And then throughout, of course, we'll meet with you all to make sure we're reporting on progress and working with you to make sure that you're achieving the goals on the timeline that you want to achieve. So looking across the state, we now work with 48 local governments. So we've been at this work for now 4 years, worked with 48 local governments. As you can see on this list here, it's a whole variety of communities, from the largest cities here on this list to 5 counties that you see as well, down to some small villages and a lot of small to medium-sized communities as well. Several here in Central Ohio, and I've encouraged you and appreciate you all reaching out to them, asking about their experience and working with us. We've done a lot of different types of work across our state and in these communities. So what does it mean to get this support from us? There's a variety of tools that we've identified through direct communication and feedback with local governments that can help you accomplish some of this work. One of the most important things we talk about with local governments is create a plan. Right now we know it's valuable obviously to accomplish your goals to have a plan, but it's also valuable to pursue federal grants. We've heard time and again where communities have gone after grants, but they haven't had a plan in place around emission reductions or environmental justice initiatives, and that can hurt you in being able to pursue some of those key federal grants that are available right now. There's also incredible tax incentives that are out there available to businesses, residents, and local governments through direct pay provisions that are now available to public entities that are not tax liable. So there's all kinds of reasons to do this work. And these tools that you see on the screen here, we think are helpful to get you to that place. So you see, I don't want to walk through all of these, but just to share a few so you can get a sense. If you're looking to invest in transportation, electrification work, we can do a fleet analysis to understand which vehicles within your fleet are best suited for electrification in the near term or in the long term, depending on when you bought the vehicle, the miles driven, longest traveled trip throughout a standard work week. Energy efficiency program. How do you make sure you figure out the best way to make your own operations efficient, but also how do you make sure that residents have the resources they need to make sure we decrease their energy burden? Energy burden being that question about the percentage you spend on your daily income on your home's energy expenses. Anything above 6% means you have high energy burden. So any individual household within your community that has a high energy burden is a problem. We need to think about how we can address that, how can work through you all to help give them the resources they need. Community choice aggregation we'll get to here in a moment, but there's also other really neat ways to go about this work, like solar code updates. If a resident wants to put rooftop solar on their roof, let's make sure they have a way to do that. It's simple, it's straightforward, and we're not creating new barriers to adopt clean energy in that household. Just as a quick, a few examples that we've seen, we've done a tree canopy assessment for Canton to help assess where they could invest more in their tree canopy. And a lot of communities have great tree planting initiatives and do a great job with that. But there's ways to optimize and ways to make sure that we're getting to the places within the community that don't have a great tree canopy. That's highly correlated with public health. It's highly correlated with environmental justice communities as well. So let's think about how best to invest in tree canopy to address those issues. We worked with Toledo to pass the first in the nation 1% for the environment budget amendment. So 1% of their capital improvement projects will go to environmental initiatives and determined by a commission that we worked with them to help establish. For Dayton, we did a greenhouse gas inventory that assessed their emissions across the entire community. So this is households, businesses, commercial operations, but also their municipal operations. We found 14% of the city's 14% of the city's emissions come from the municipal operations. So sometimes the feedback we get is, well, there's only so many things within our locus of control. 14% is a significant amount of emissions within that city. So there's certainly direct control over those municipal operations and a lot they could do to address those things, and they're certainly taking it on as we speak. So in turning now to how we go about this work with aggregation. Just to give you we'll do a quick primer here in a second on aggregation, on what it means. I know you've heard from a couple entities already, but want to make sure to be clear about what our role is, because there's a variety of different entities you may hear from. You could hear from a broker who's out there, they potentially go and purchase electricity on behalf of the city. You could hear from a governmental aggregator. You've heard from NOPEC and SOPEC. Those are both governmental aggregators. We sit in a position where we're not out purchasing electricity. We're not aggregating on behalf of communities. We're simply here to educate and advise. We are not an aggregator or a broker. I want to make that very clear. Our goal is simply to help local governments reduce emissions and meet their climate goals. And all of our recommendations are focused on that. So when it comes to aggregation, one of the things to keep in mind here, you can think of this as collective bargaining. You have the opportunity, you already have the authority, you have the opportunity now to potentially go out and with your purchasing power as a local government, help your residents get potentially cheaper electricity rates, but also get sources of energy that they think are beneficial to communities' priorities. It is interestingly prominent in Ohio. You can see on this map here, it is authorized in 10 states, being actively investigated in several others. But Ohio is unique and I think does a great job with local government aggregation programs. You can see it's kind of rare across the country. It's not a typical thing that we have access to, but as a deregulated market, Ohio has access to this community choice aggregation policy tool that local governments can take advantage of and hopefully benefit their residents. So in terms of what it is and what it is not, I think oftentimes this can get a little confusing about what aggregation actually does. So what it definitely does is it will help you get better terms for residential electricity. For large businesses, they are not included in the aggregation. They're by standard left out of that purchasing group. It is the most impactful tool that we can recommend to reduce emissions. There's a variety of things local governments can do to reduce emissions, but this is the one big one that we think has the highest impact in the nearest term to meet those climate goals that I know many of us strive to achieve. It's also a source for other types of programming that we can consider that could be innovative or new. Access to innovative grant programs that you could set up through your aggregation program, depending on the type of aggregation you choose to pursue. So there's some innovative ways to go about it. We've looked into a variety of programs all across the country and how they've done it, and can recommend models and help you think through ways to optimize for Gahanna. What it is not a guaranteed savings. I think it's careful planning is required. You have to make sure you choose the right partner in getting into this work, and we can certainly help you advise you on how to go about that. It's not a solution for blackouts or reliability. I know we've had outages in the past. Certainly last summer, we had some notable outages here. Ultimately, if you choose an aggregator, your investor-owned distribution utility, in this case AEP Ohio, will still own the lines that run to houses. They will still provide that electricity. They will still be responsible for the reliability of that electric grid. So it is not going to be a solution for that sort of scenario. Certainly plenty of other ways we can weigh in on that issue, but aggregation does not solve that problem. A tax on residents. This is not a tax on residents. This is an opportunity for you all to hopefully save residents money on their electricity bills. This is not something that they will see on their tax bill with the local government whatsoever. And finally, it is not a requirement for any city that has passed it. You are all a good example of this, and there's been other communities that have had this scenario play out where they've had the aggregation authority. You all have the aggregation authority per residents voting on this on the ballot in 2000. So once you've voted on it once, you have that authority as a local government to aggregate. Once it has passed, you can then either keep that authority dormant, as in you're not running an aggregation program, or you can choose to file for a certificate and then pursue an aggregation program on your own accord. So requirements, as I just mentioned, a majority of voters must authorize an opt-out aggregation program. You may hear the term opt-out or opt-in. Opt-in is kind of everyone has the opportunity to have an opt-in program. Residents would have to raise their hands and say, yes, I want to be part of that. It's not very effective, and so it's not something we would recommend. Opt-out programs really are the most effective way to run an aggregation program. But in order to get that opt-out authority, you have to have a majority vote, as I mentioned, which you all achieved. You have to form a plan of operations and governments, and along with that plan, you have to then hold 2 public hearings to ensure that all consumers have and residents have a voice and can share their concerns about the proposed plan. And then once you do pursue the actual implementation of the program, automatic opt-out notices are sent out to all those who are enrolled, so they have the choice to say, hey, I don't want to be part of this, please remove me. They get 2 of those and have the chance to opt out. So as you can see here, just a quick sort of a snapshot in history. Gahanna City Council passed the ordinance in August of 2000 to put it on the ballot. Then Gahanna voters voted approximately 70% to 30% in favor of that issue to support the authority for the city of Gahanna to aggregate. So just as a quick primer here on how this, from a mechanic standpoint, how this works. So this is how we get our electricity, right? We have the supply of electricity that's built in Ohio. If you own supply, you cannot own the lines. We have a deregulated market, so those 2 entities cannot be the same. So you have entities like, for example, here you have AEP Ohio that owns your distribution lines. AEP Energy would be another entity separate from them that then owns the generation. The delivery of those utility companies buy that electricity on the open market. They deliver it to the consumer. You don't have much choice if you don't have an aggregation program. You can go to the apples to apples market. You can search on the PUCO market and choose who's going to be your supplier. And you can kind of become your own little one-house aggregation. In this case, most consumers just go with the standard service offering from their utility. So how does it work with aggregation? In this case, the local government aggregates all of those consumers in their community and then has the choice to go out to that energy supply market and make choices on where they get their electricity from. Some advantage of this, you can make sure to purchase at the right time to get the best price for your residents. You can make sure to get the type of energy you want when that purchase is made. That has a lot of advantages over what is a much larger system that utilities purchase for millions of consumers. So what do energy prices mean for residents? I think we often hear this, cents per kilowatt hour, and it can get a little confusing. What is a kilowatt hour? What is a megawatt? What is a megawatt hour? Just to give you a quick snapshot on what it looks like for a typical household, 7 cents per kilowatt hour is what you hear as a potential rate for electricity. That was the case about a year and a half ago, was or a little less than a year ago, was our rate of electricity right around 7 cents per kilowatt hour. If you increase that up to 10 cents per kilowatt hour, that difference is $30 per household per month. So pretty significant for different community members that may not have $30 to spend. You have a potential there in seeing these price increases that we have to put people in high energy burden scenarios. So the current market, what we've seen in the past, I would say probably about 2 years, we've seen a significant amount of volatility, right? We've seen supply chain issues all across the world, notably the war in Ukraine having an impact on that, inflation, and then here right in the state of Ohio, state regulatory choices that have created new siting barriers, and have created anti-renewable energy policies, have created additional challenges for local governments to access generation the way that we would like. Ultimately, what that's led to is price hikes. We've seen significant price hikes for a lot of consumers. I'm sure you all have seen price hikes on your electricity bills at home. They've gone up significantly relative to where they were last spring. So what you see right now in this current market is that neighbors of yours all across central Ohio have had the chance to pursue aggregation programs. And so you can see here where their prices are landing with the negotiations they've made with their aggregators. You'll notice Columbus sits there at 7.99 cents per kilowatt hour. That is also with incurring some extra support for local renewable energy generation. So they're incentivizing the Ohio market to ensure that Ohio development of renewables is happening. So certainly a laudable and a great goal that we point to all the time as a potential. But others, Bexley, Delaware, Worthington, Hilliard's not on this list, but also could be included, all getting prices right around that 7 cents per kilowatt hour mark. You see there in the bottom corner, AEP Ohio's current price to compare, 11.32 cents per kilowatt hour. So as I mentioned, that jump from 7 to 10 cents, 7 to 11.32 cents, we're talking about $40 per month. So a pretty significant amount of money for households to have to deal with in what is tough economic times. So I'll leave you with these key questions, and certainly can answer any questions you all have, but I think as you all are thinking about what this looks like, how does your city want to, what does your city want to achieve with community choice aggregation? Certainly I am here talking to you all about sustainability and climate change and clean energy. I think thinking about that from a policy lens, is that a goal that you would like to set for your community choice aggregation program? We've seen all of those programs that I just listed, all pursuing renewable energy goals with those programs, and I think it's certainly something that could be achieved here with your city as well. Thinking about the process, how do you want to go about this? Would you like to issue a request for proposals if that's the right approach for you all? Certainly that's something we can help you advise you on and think through what does that look like, how to structure it, and how to write it. And then how much education and engagement happens. I think a certain open question for you all, voters voted on this in 2000. I think the last time you had an active program has been many years, well over 10 years. And so what does that mean to engage voters and make sure that they understand what this, how this would impact them, make sure they understand and are up to speed on what this looks like going forward. So I think that's a question to ask for you all to ask yourselves as well, as what does that community engagement piece look like? And are there any additional goals you want to achieve alongside your aggregation program, either broadly in the climate, sustainability, clean energy space, or more narrowly with the program implementation as well? So with that, I will pause there and see if you all have any questions. This is my contact information, and certainly you can find more about our organization at powercleanfuture.org. We would certainly love to have Gahanna join as a PCFO community and hopefully work with you on a whole variety of policy topics, including aggregation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Florida. Wonderful presentation. This is the third presentation we've had on aggregation in approximately the last 6 months, although your presentation is not exclusively limited to aggregation, nor are you an aggregator. But thank you so much. This is a really important topic, and we're really glad to have you here to share with us some of the resources that Power Clean Future Ohio can offer. Before we open it to maybe some questions, if you're willing to do that, I wanted to turn it back to Councilmember Renner to share some, if you had any thoughts or summaries.
Yeah, thank you, President Bowers. I just wanted a couple things, really. I wanted to actually let my colleagues know that I am working on the resolution to join the PCFO coming soon to a committee of the whole. And then I look forward to having a very robust conversation about some of the goals about that, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart, especially taking energy and policies this semester. So I really look forward to having a discussion about this. The aggregation subject has made some of us actually a little bit nervous, especially the opt-in, opt-out. And could you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but could you actually talk about, is there a limit, on the opt-in, opt-out? Or is that something that we can actually put in the contract that an aggregator has to let people back in, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just to make sure I understand the question. In a scenario where you have aggregated and you want to ensure that residents are allowed to opt into the program at a future date if they chose to opt out, is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think one of the key things that we recommend to local governments is that you hold the power in this scenario to write into your request for proposals or in your negotiation with a governmental aggregator to ask for what you want. And those are the things we would advise you on to ensure that if you want to make sure that residents can join at any time, that you write that in. And those are certainly things you can ask for. You may run across a scenario with an aggregator where they'll say, we can, but we can only give them, we can't guarantee this price that we're providing throughout the entire time period. But if they want to join at a certain moment, so maybe it's a year into the program when they refresh, they could do that. So there's certain ways that some aggregators may say, yes, that can work, but only in these circumstances. So I can't fully answer your question 100%. You can get that to work, but you should be able to find an aggregator that can work with you to make sure that that doesn't become an issue.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from my colleagues? All right. Well, thank you to Mr. Renner for inviting Mr. Florida in to talk to us about the resources that are being offered. We are certainly looking forward to engaging in this discussion more robustly with the administration, the mayor, and city attorney to make sure that if we are able to move forward with this, that we've got that collaboration with the administration as well. So we're looking forward to that, to progress on this front. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. I promise the rest of the agenda is going to go much faster. Next on our agenda is item E, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
So moved.
First from Mr. Renner,
Second.
a second from Mrs. Padova. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes. Okay, motion carries and the consent agenda is passed. Next item on the agenda is ordinances for introduction and first reading. We have 3 items on tonight's agenda. Mr. Clerk, would you please introduce for first reading the 3 items on the agenda?
Ordinance 0004-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations for water meter fees. Ordinance 0005-2024, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $68 million in one or more series for the purpose of paying the cost of acquiring, constructing, renovating, and improving municipal facilities, including constructing, renovating, and improving additional public safety facilities for police department operations, furnishings, and equipping the same, improving the sites thereof, acquiring land and interests in land and connections therewith, water, sanitary, sewer, and stormwater improvements, and other improvements, relocation, or additions to utility infrastructure, together with all necessary and related appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 0006-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations, capital improvement fund, and general fund for 825 Tech Center Drive project.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Those items will be coming forward on the February 19th agenda for second reading and vote. Next item on the agenda is Section G, Correspondence and Actions. We have 2 items from the council clerk. Mr. Clerk, would you please introduce item 1?
First item tonight is Ohio Division of Liquor Control, the notice to legislative authority for a new permit. Eagle Academy of Columbus, Inc., doing business as Campus & Co. Columbus, located at 460 Havens Corner Road, Gahanna. I did reach out to the Division of Police. According to Chief Spence, there are no objections from the Division of Police, but I do understand there may be questions from council.
Yes, it was brought to my attention that there were questions regarding this item, particularly as it relates to being directly across from the high school and wanting to make sure that the school is aware of this request for a permit, as well as trying to understand the model that's being proposed here. Based on my understanding from Mr. Van Meter, we have until later in February in which to request a hearing on this item. So we have time to bring this to committee for discussion next week and then back on for a motion on the 19th. All right.
Correct.
Next item, Mr. Van Meter.
The next item is actually an item from Planning Commission to recommend approval to council for the repeal and replacement of Part 11, Planning and Zoning Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Gahanna. And along with that item comes with a presentation scheduled for the next Committee of the Whole next week from Director Blackford. In addition to, the council office has posted the public hearing notices for the two hearings that are required pursuant to city charter. The first public hearing is scheduled for Monday, March 4th, and the second public hearing is for Monday, March 18th, both at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Any items from my council colleagues? All right. Moving on to Section H of the agenda, representatives. First, Mr. Renner and Mr. Weaver, do you have a report from the CIC?
Yes, Madam President. The CIC met on, well, and of course I erased the date. It was January 17th, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe that is correct.
Thank you. For our organizational meeting as well as our regular meeting, we select Betty Collins as president once again, George Morus as vice president secretary, Jeff Kessler as treasurer, Jody Carter as the chair of the real estate committee, Jeff Kessler for the finance committee, and Kelly Fox for the governance committee. Our regular meetings will be held on the third Tuesday of each month from 8 to 9 unless otherwise noticed. Once again, on the June and December meetings, inviting all of council to please join the CIC. Of course, these are public meetings. You're always welcome, but we'd especially love to have you there in our June and December meetings. Moving on to the regular meeting, we did end the year with just under $144,000 in cash. We received a clean audit from the state auditor. Two items that were not reflected in the budget is a hopeful grant that we are hoping to receive for the demolition of properties from the CIC, as well as the council-approved funding in the budget for the CIC. Neither of those were included in the budget, so if you do go take a look through the budget documents, those were not included. In terms of development, the administration continues to speak with several companies who are looking to expand their business here in the community. There was a 291,000 square feet? That's a typo.
291,000.
Okay, not a typo. Thank you.
Almost 300,000.
Thank you. Square foot spec building that's nearly complete out on Eastgate. It's a $26 million building. Lastly, in terms of governance, the board did approve the nomination for Opal Brandt to join the board. And that is it for CIC.
Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Weaver, for a MORPC report.
Moving right along. MORPC will have its first commission meeting this Thursday for a luncheon and conversation that'll feature the CEO of the Columbus Regional Airport Authority. Looking forward to participating in that and having a more robust update for the future. But also, on February 27th, there's an event focused on the partnership between local governments and public school districts and working collaboratively. And I'll be honored to have Superintendent Dr. Tracy Deagle as my guest for that meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ms. Padova.
Thank you. The Creekside Charity Chocolate Walk is going to take place on Sunday, February 18th from 2 to 5 in the Creekside District. Proceeds will benefit the organizations of Give to Gahanna. Tickets are limited and available on the Visit Gahanna website. Visit Gahanna's website under events as well as Facebook. More than 10 locations are participating in the Creekside Charity Chocolate Walk this year. So again, that is Sunday, February 18th from 2 to 5. Also, mark your calendars for Visit Gahanna's annual meeting on Wednesday, March 20th from 11:30 to 1. Stay tuned for more details and speakers for that. And the CBJF committee and Visit Gahanna staff is in full swing with planning the 25th annual Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival. So sponsorships are available and vendor applications are being accepted. The headliners will be announced soon, and I believe that there will be some new and bigger acts for the 25th anniversary.
Thank you, Councilwoman Padova. And finally, Councilwoman Jones for a school board report.
Thank you.
You have some big news.
What's that?
You have some big news.
I do. If you have not noticed or have not heard, but this past Friday, the school board announced Megan Demmerling as the newly appointed member to the school board. Ms. Demmerling is a resident of the district for 9 years and is a current intervention specialist at Dublin Shoto High School, and amongst other host of educational certifications and licensure. So a welcome to Megan. We look forward to officially meeting her and continuing the collaboration between school board and the city. Just a couple of quick recap. The State of the Schools address was last week, and a sort of resource expo of all of the different tools and experiences and curriculum that the district has to offer. Dr. Deagle also spoke to the district's commitment to inspiring leaders, building futures, and really emphasized the importance of collaboration of all of us to work towards achieving success in our district. I have been told that will be on the district's YouTube channel if it isn't yet, but it will be making its way there. So if you missed that, you can check that out. And then last, just a plug and reminder for Gahanna Gala. It's coming up on February 24th, a fundraiser for the Gahanna Jefferson Education Foundation. There are tickets left, but not many, I've been told, so run and get those. Theme is Roaring 20s, so get your costumes and your fringe as well, and come out and enjoy the event. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, official reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. As council is aware, the city was awarded a grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation last year to develop an active transportation plan, which focuses on the city's ability to provide for travelers who walk, bike, use a stroller, use a wheelchair, mobility device, skateboard, rollerblades, et cetera, et cetera. Once completed, the plan will help to inform and guide us on future improvements in connectivity and accessibility around the city. My understanding is MORPC will be incorporating the results of our plan into other regional planning as well to ensure that there's alignment amongst jurisdictions throughout the region. As part of the first phase of that development of the active transportation plan, we are soliciting input and feedback from our residents, which initially includes a survey that really seeks to gain information from our residents as to how they traverse within our community. How do they typically get from one side of the city to the other? Do they walk a lot? Do they bike a lot? What challenges do they find? Et cetera, et cetera. So the survey is now live. It went live today. It can be accessed on the city's Facebook page, as well as on the city's website, gahanna.gov. The survey will run through February 25th, so help us to spread that word so we can get as much feedback as possible from our residents, and we encourage everybody. It's a very brief survey, should not take long to answer, yes or no, multiple choice questions, really easy to answer. So again, please help us to spread the word and get as much input as we can so that work on the transportation plan can get started in earnest. Speaking of our Parks Department, who's working on the active transportation plan, we are very excited to share that Julie Perderi, the city's forestry supervisor, was named one of 2024's 30 Under 30 by the National Recreation and Parks Association. Julie was selected from more than 100 nominees across the country, 26 states. and she was the only parks professional in Ohio to receive this designation. She was identified as an up-and-comer and somebody to keep an eye on in the Parks Department, which is unfortunate for us because we don't want anybody else to know about her. We think she's phenomenal. And as you know, Julie leads our street program. She was the architect, literally and figuratively, around the Level 1 Arboretum at Creekside that we opened in 2021. I have watched her in action. She holds classes with students throughout our district, not only at the Arboretum, but at their schools, engages them, informs them, and is really just an inspiration for everybody who works with her and who really have the pleasure of knowing her. And being there to watch her get the news from her team and helping them celebrate and honor her was really a special moment. So we are just thrilled for Julie and extremely proud of her and the contributions that she makes for our city and for our residents. Since we last were together, I had the honor of speaking at the annual meeting of the Gahanna Area Chamber of Commerce. I gave an overview there of a lot of the business growth that we've seen here in the city, what we can expect to continue to see in 2024. Mark Patton, who is the Executive Vice President of the Columbus Partnership, as well as the One Columbus General Manager, was the keynote speaker. And he gave a very informative presentation, not only on the trends that we're seeing in the region and can expect to see, especially with the growth happening all around us, but also he talked about the collaborative work that their agencies are able to do. We know they've been tremendous partners with us as well and have helped us to secure some of the companies that we have had here in front of you, Council, for projects where we have been able to secure incentives from them and being able to help our companies continue to grow here in Gahanna. So many thanks to Brad Fisher and the Chamber Board for that opportunity to be at that event, and congratulate them on an excellent annual meeting. Finally, the next Gahanna 175, our anniversary celebration. The next meeting is tomorrow, February 6th at 6 p.m. Because of a conflict in programming at the Senior Center, we will be meeting here at City Hall in the committee room. So February 6th at 6 p.m. tomorrow here at City Hall. And I also take a moment to mention that the next upcoming event that's part of Gahanna 175, a night of Gahanna storytelling. It will be the premiere of a series of short films that have been created by Gahanna resident and very talented documentary filmmaker Tim Corliss. He's been interviewing Gahanna residents for many, many months, and he has put together a series of short films where we hear Gahanna's story and Gahanna's his story from the residents themselves. So that will be on Saturday, March 8th at 7 p.m. at the Gahanna Sanctuary. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, but there's also a link that you could find not only should be on the city's social media page in the next couple of days, but also on the website, gahanna175.com. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney Tam Larison, do you have a report for us tonight?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. I previously reported to Council that there was a litigation involving Speedway towing that had become somewhat stagnant and had not had any action since August of 2022. The last report I had was that I did reach out to the judge's staff attorney indicating that we were still waiting for a decision on that. So I am pleased to announce that that decision has been rendered today in favor of the city. The summary judgment motion was granted, dismissing all the pending litigation there. So I am happy to announce that that litigation is now tied off. Also in Mayor's Court, I have now implemented a community service project or program, which is allowing folks to engage in some community service in exchange for a resolution of their matters in front of Mayor's Court. So if I have been partnering with local nonprofits in order to do that, and I'm open to suggestions for additional partnerships in the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. We are on to council reports. Council comment. Councilwoman Jones, would you like to start?
Sure, thank you. First, just wanting to, I know that they're not here anymore, but just to extend another thank you to Dr. Thomas, Jonelle Emerson, Keisha Whitfield, and also the students as well, and I am going to call them by name just so it lives on. Olivia Lewis, Max Picolantonio, Santino Williams, and Dallas Printup. For words that I wasn't expecting, but was just super inspirational way to start the meeting and to really kick off Black History Month. So again, a thank you for a special guest. My first constituent report is available, and I have shared that. It'll be as part of meeting minutes from tonight, so you can check that out. And then wanted to announce my first Community Connects, which is just an opportunity for conversations, to meet residents, to hear questions, concerns, and ideas. That will be February 13th at 6 o'clock here at City Hall in the conference room in the library. And that is all. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Councilwoman McGregor?
Yes, thank you. I also want to thank the students tonight. That was really great to hear how much they enjoyed their teacher and appreciated what she has done for them over the year. That was real. I'm sure she was very touched by that. I wanted to say too, this Saturday at Peace Lutheran from 3 to 5, there is a coyote workshop. There's a guy, he's Dr. Stanley Gert, and he has done studies of coyotes in Cook County. And I heard Dr. Gert at a Ohio Wildlife Conference several years ago, and he's excellent. We have coyotes in Gahanna, and I put out a trail cam early January on a pumpkin that I'd split open along our creek, and we saw possum, raccoon, deer, a black cat, and a coyote walking along the side of our house. Now, I've not seen them that close to our house. That's just outside our fence. And so if anybody is concerned, he's very informative, and he has lots of studies about, and these are mostly how they stay within a certain geographical area and how they have packs. And so if anybody's interested, it's for a $5 donation at Peace Lutheran this Saturday from 3 to 5. The other thing I wanted to say was kind of a more somber note. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And I just wanted to wish my friend Susie, she entered that valley of the shadow of death yesterday and has gone home. So I just want to wish Susie to rest in peace, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Mr. Renner?
Thank you. Mrs. McGregor, my condolences on the loss of your friend. I too want to join the chorus about the Dr. Thomas's speech and the choir of students. Thank you, Ms. Jones, about that and organizing all of that. That was very inspirational, and I didn't even know that she existed in the school. So thank you for having her and a part of our community voice. I also want to thank the Armstrong family for being here, and congratulations to them. And you know, I know it sounds a little like, okay, it's a pizza shop, but it really is part of our fabric. And if you have, you can go back and actually see a lot of the Facebook posts about the community and how many lives that family has touched. Melissa and I were a newly married couple back in '93, and we had this little one-bedroom flat off of 161. And on Fridays, our designated date night, we would actually cross over to Parkville Street and actually go see the Mr. T's and get some subs. Little did we know that that was part of a greater thing. And we had heard about the shop at Agler and Stelzer. So we would actually go there, and it was like a community event. It was amazing. There were people in there, pinball machines. It was really nice. And then here, how this comes full circle for us, and so many years later, it's something memorable. So thank you for all my council colleagues in the support of that. And then thank you for giving your attention and for Joe Florida of the PCFO. This is something that we really do need to take note. There are some things in the marketplace that are disruptive technologies, And it's not because of political wins or anything like that, but the markets are going to totally shift, and because of lower energy costs. We need to take awareness of these things and take advantage on behalf of our citizenry. So more to come on that. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mr. Renner. Ms. Padova.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Renner, for organizing Mr. Florida to be here this evening. I am also very interested in hearing more about irrigation. I am excited to try to get some movement on that and bring some savings to our city. Also, thank you to Councilwoman Jones, Dr. Thomas, and the kids who spoke this evening. It was a really, really good way to start our meeting, to kick off Black History Month. And I think Dr. Thomas said that she was hoping for her kids to change the world, but how humble of her, because she is very much doing that. And it was evident in how all of the kids spoke about her this evening. So just thank you, Dr. Thomas, for being here this evening and for everything that she does. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to add my condolences to Mrs. McGregor on the passing of her friend. You know, a good friend is hard to come by, and can very quickly and become just like a family member, and your chosen family often too. So, my condolences. I do also want to thank all of our guests this evening, Mr. Florida, for the wonderful presentation. Looking forward to seeing what's coming down the road for us. Mr. Renner, thank you for putting that together for us. Also want to thank my colleagues, Ms. Jones and Mr. Renner, for leading the resolutions this evening. My hat's off and congratulations to Mr. T's Pizza and the Armstrong family. You hear it said, but it really is true that small businesses are the absolute backbones of a strong community. And it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into a small business. And frequently, there's no days off. It's constant work. And not only did they pour that work and that effort into their own business, but they poured it right back into the community as well. So well-deserved recognition this evening, so thank you for that. I was also blown away by the students this evening. I'm very blessed to be married to a teacher, a Gahanna teacher nonetheless, and it's my wife's first year teaching at Gahanna, and I have heard many times how amazing Dr. Thomas is. So just blown away by the impactful words, not only by her, but also by her students. This is an opportunity for all of us to remember that while there has been so much progress in the decades since our nation's founding in the history of the world, but there is much progress still to be made, and that does take work, and that takes tough conversations, and that takes education, and having those, being willing to have those conversations. So my hat's off to everybody involved. So thank you. And that is it for me this evening, President Robertson.
Well, thank you. I'm in the unenviable position of going last, as council presidents before me have, and so everything has already been said tonight. And so with that, I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.